It's 12:05. It's 12:05 PM, and I'd like to call the March PCAC meeting to order. We're still waiting on one more member to have a quorum, so we'll hold off. We have a quorum. Okay, very good. Alrighty, so the first order of business will be the approval of the March 7th agenda. Do we have a motion?
No.
Okay, motion. Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We also need to review the December 14th minutes. We had no quorum at that meeting.
Jerry, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Alrighty, do I have a second?
Second.
Alrighty, seconds. Any discussion? Alrighty, all in favor? Aye. Okay, any opposed? Motion carries. Alrighty, then we'll start down with the PCAC Chairs Report and longer.
The minutes, and the agenda from last year,
Oh, because we didn't have
because we didn't have one.
Alrighty, all right, so then that would be all right, so we need to, just to, official housekeeping. We need to approve the agenda for the last meeting, which was what, December 14th? And then we also need to approve the minutes for whatever was 3 months before that, September.
Jerry?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion for both to be approved.
Alrighty. Motion, any second?
Second.
I got a second. Alrighty, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now that we have the housekeeping out of the way, we'll go down to the chairs reports. I'll start with the PCAC chair report. The office has been extremely busy with a number of issues. PCAC has given testimony in support of congestion pricing at the recently concluded hearings held here at MTA headquarters. PCAC has also been showing support in various other ways as well through the media and collaboration with other transit advocacy groups. Unfortunately, there is a possibility that implementation of congestion pricing may be delayed due to several lawsuits that have been filed. And in a fiscally responsible response, the MTA has placed the bidding for many of their capital projects on hold until the lawsuits are settled. We have been working with MTA HR to get additional candidates to interview for our associate director's position, as unfortunately our previous selection decided to go in a different direction. PCAC will have staff traveling to Albany to advocate for our 3 riders representatives on the MTA board to become full voting members. It's not just having a vote that's important. This will allow our MTA reps to make and second motions, count towards quorum, and serve as committee chairs. It will also make the MTA board run more efficiently, as certain board committees have difficulty reaching quorum. Also, it should be noted that Andrew Albert, Randy Glucksman, and myself have been renominated by our respective councils to continue our service with the MTA board. And Lisa Daglian will be available to answer any questions and or provide more details on the aforementioned during the executive director's report later on the agenda. The Long Island Railroad Commuter Council Chairs Report. Okay, we continue to struggle to get new members due to both changes in the Nassau and Suffolk County Executive's offices, and the fact that we must submit 3 names for every opening that we are trying to fill. Currently, we have 8 openings on our 13-person council, although there is no legislative process to fill one of those positions. The Long Island Railroad has slightly increased customer satisfaction rating during the most recent survey, but still falls below the pre-Grand Central Madison percentages. I suspect that one of the major reasons for this is the fact that the Long Island Railroad continues to offer only transfer opportunities instead of firm time connections. I have assurances from senior management at the Long Island Railroad that they will continue to make every effort to have their trains arrive in Jamaica on time. Related to the aforementioned, the Long Island Railroad just missed their on-time performance mark of 94% for 2023. Unfortunately, without timed connections in Jamaica, these statistics are only eternal metrics for Long Island Railroad management and not necessarily relatable to riders' experience. On a happier note, Penn Station is once again hosting a number of dining options in stores, with more on the way. I think Dwayne Reed just opened recently, and a couple of other things. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
I just want to be clear. Yeah, it's the Walgreens, because Dreamweaves is merged with Walgreens.
Okay.
That Walgreens, it's open, and it's now 3 of them in Penn Station.
I just saw the main one on the main.
Yeah,
soil
one
network
on the
complex.
LIR, one in the regular pen and one in Monahan. So,
Moynihan,
thank you.
okay. Any other questions or?
Karen.
Yeah,
Oh, can you turn on your mic?
Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. A few comments and questions. So I just want to say that ridership at Grand Central Madison has just blossomed. Like every day that I go there,
Oh,
blossomed.
blossom.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible. I was wondering, is the presentation later on construction, does that include Long Island Railroad Station updates as well? Okay, perfect. An issue I wanted to bring up, I don't know if it's now or later, it has to do with people smoking marijuana in the station waiting room.
Which station? Every
Um,
single station?
I don't know, at least at Lawton, I can't speak for, but it's an increasing issue and,
On the trains too.
oh, really? Yeah, and they've tried. I don't know if they can close the doors and people can't use it, so I don't know what they're gonna do. They've asked people to call in or report it, but it just seems no matter what they do, people come back. And
I'm sorry, Karen, was that, you said the Baldwin station?
Laurelton.
Laurelton,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm. And the other thing is people still bring their e-scooters and bikes at all times on the railroad and they're riding it in the stations. I don't know,
You
but
should see what's in the subways with those things.
oh yeah,
Wow.
that too. Yeah. Well, sometimes. Sometimes.
On the new open gangway, somebody already did it.
Thank you.
yeah, just to follow up, one you'd mentioned Grand Central Madison. They had originally figured that they would do about 40% of the people coming into Manhattan at Grand Central Madison. When it opened, it was like 29-30%. Most recent statistics are it has finally reached 40% of the people coming into Manhattan. So it's a 60-40 split between Penn and Grand Central Madison. All right, and as far as the scooters, that's been something that we've been pushing with the MTA safety people for what, well over a year now, right?
Easy.
Yeah, so, and it's something that we're gonna continue to monitor, and we're gonna ask them to continue to monitor, but that was our biggest concern. Like Andrew said, he says sooner or later, you're gonna see somebody going down the open gangplanks with one of them on a subway train.
Karen, we'll forward though your the concern, the complaint about smoking at Laurelton in the waiting room. It's like a double-fisted, double-edged sword. We don't want the waiting rooms closed, especially when it's cold. But there needs to be more of a, I mean, it's ubiquitous throughout the entire system at this point.
And they say that it's monitored 24/7, so I don't know if they can't do anything, if they can't identify the purpose. I just don't know what the issue is, or it's just too much for them to handle.
Karen, on train time, if you check a train, they have a symbol if bikes are not allowed during that period of time. And if you are finding that bikes are on board on a time that's other than what's shown on train time, you should just tell the conductor and make note of the conductor's name and everything and make sure this gets dealt with because I've seen it too.
Stuart, I mean, also the conductors don't want to get into altercations.
Yeah.
Stuart,
Thanks. So regarding the on-time data and missing the mark, was that impacted in any way by equipment shortages?
No, I don't believe so. It's
Okay,
just the way the schedule is set up.
only schedule issues.
Yeah, it could be
Okay.
it could be for any number of reasons. I mean, it could be an occasional equipment shortage, but it could be for any number of reasons why the train doesn't pull out of a station on time or whatever. But it's so tight. See, one of the biggest problems we have now is it's so tight on the scheduling through Jamaica that a train can be, 4 minutes late and the connection might have pulled out a minute ago. And so on the road's metrics, it's showing an on-time train and an on-time train. But meanwhile, the person who wants to make that connection is waiting a half an hour for the next connection. So, but that's a battle I'll continue to
Thank you.
fight.
All right.
But small
Bert-
victories, take them where we can find them.
right, Bert, you had something? No, okay. We have Jerry, were you finished with your report?
Yeah, I think we have a couple on.
We do. Maddie, you had your hand raised first. Is that related to Jerry's report?
Yes, in relation to the vacancies. Yes, I mean, I don't want to get off topic and then get cut off like I did the last, so, anyway, can anyone apply for the task? Because I know you have to be recommended by either Ed Romaine or Bruce Blakeman, who are the county executives, though.
So this isn't that what Jerry was speaking about wasn't the LAR ADA task force. It was for the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council.
Yeah,
We've
yeah, that's what I
actually-
meant.
Right.
That's what I meant to say.
We're working on some legislative fixes that would change it from needing to submit 3 names to submit 1 name. So I'd say let us work through the process so that we get to a point where we are we're there. We've been asking for the county executives. Well, Ed Romaine is new, but we've been asking for submission of names from the Nassau County executive for some time, and it's been daunting but they said that they're getting closer. That they are, I did hear from them this week, that they are assessing their appointments and their committees that they need to appoint on. And will be getting back to us shortly. So I'd say hang tight for a little bit, and at next month's Long Island Railroad Commuter Council, hopefully we'll have an update. How's
All
that?
right,
Okay, thank you.
terrific.
Okay, all right, Jason.
Hey everyone from Lisa, I'm actually close to your neck of the woods here in Queens. Jerry, I want to bring something to your attention. The other night after the Knicks games at Madison Square Garden, the men's restrooms at Penn Station that is at the Amtrak / New Jersey Transit concourse was low, I'll say literally all day. And while requested information to, let's say, quote unquote maintenance of, let's say, a Penn Station, they told me that they was going to fix something that was damaged. And I asked how long is it going to take to be fixed? They told me that it's unknown. And I asked, why you guys don't communicate this to the MTA to see if they're gonna, let's say, open the restroom when they have the restrooms closed between 11 a.m. and noon. They didn't give me an answer. So I want to address this to you guys because it seems that, again, miscommunication like always between New Jersey Transit and Amtrak and the MTA.
Okay, which particular bathroom you talking? Is this the one on the Long Island Railroad concourse level? But
No,
bottom of the escalator?
No, Jerry. It's the one that is on the Amtrak / New Jersey Transit side. That apparently, after the Knicks game that was happening the other night at Madison Square Garden, that I saw a huge crowd going out from Madison Square Garden, and the restroom there was closed. And even before the next game in the morning, it was closed since I'll say
We have no control over Amtrak or New Jersey Transit's facilities. So, I mean, if it was the bathroom at the bottom of the escalators, the Long Island Railroad level, yeah, that would definitely be something we could inquire about. But elsewhere in the facility, we have no standing.
I know, I understand that,
Jason,
Jerry, but at
Jason,
least to maintain
Jason.
some communication.
Jason, we'll inquire about that, about the communication aspect of it. We do have
Thank you,
a
Lisa.
question, we have a question in the chat. I noticed a clear deficiency in passenger seating on platforms and in large stations. For example, the new Mineola station does not seem to have any benches on the platforms. There's very limited seating in Penn Station. I can't even figure out how to make this go up. But certainly not in certainly, Kara, help me with this.
Not in the central corridors or on the platforms. This is important to folks who need to sit and those who just may find it more comfortable. I personally can't sit for more than 10 minutes. The problem is worse on the 8th Avenue INT local subway platforms. They removed all benches.
All right, as far as Mineola is concerned, they've gone a different direction from benches. Now they have, I'm trying to think of a polite way to refer to, I guess they call them butt rests or whatever, where you can actually just like lean your butt against it. It's not really a seat. And I believe that is to deter people from taking naps on the benches. Don't necessarily agree with it, but that's the way they decided to go at Mineola Station. All right, anything else or?
We are good. Next, oh, I'm sorry, Karen.
I totally forgot to mention that about a week or so ago, both elevators were down at Grand Central Madison. And I believe this is problematic when we talk about accessibility and that the response to accessibility is elevators and escalators. And I think that ramps still have to be considered because you need a solution that's not reliant on technology and power outages. There needs to be other options, and it's already a long walk just coming from 42nd Street to get to that area. And it's two elevators for
Yeah.
that whole station. They were both down the same day, and just about every day, there's 1 to 2 escalators that are down.
Yep, my husband said one was down yesterday. Oh, today? Yesterday.
Yeah, there
One
was.
one of the escalators stopped while I was on it going down one of the days. Good thing I was holding on.
And I saw a guy at the bottom the other day. I don't know what happened. He was bloody. It might have been. So, you know, I know they say that they need a lot more space, but we need to start thinking it can't just be an escalator or an elevator alone, because if we don't have them, then it's no longer accessible.
I think that on in station designs now, that is something that is being looked at, but don't forget when Grand Central Madison was designed.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty, Mr. X?
I have an answer on the bathrooms.
This applies to all Long Island and Metro Railroad stations. At all stations, there should be benches on all platforms. The bathrooms should be working. A while back, I complained about 125th Street Station. I stated the bathrooms now closed at 9:30 p.m., although trains stop there past midnight the next day. There's no excuse for that. Are you telling me I can enter that station, use the bathroom, unless I have a ticket? Are you serious?
I did ask about the restrooms in Jamaica at the Long Island Railroad Station. I was told that they needed to close those because people were overdosing in the bathrooms and dying. No, it's not, thank you. It's very horribly sad. But it's I don't know what the solution is to that, but they did say that they're looking for solutions.
But in the meantime, I still have to go upstairs to the fake A train,
Yes,
which is time consuming.
it is, but it's an alternative.
Okay, and regarding 125th Station, I'd like to know why they're closing the bathrooms at 9:30 p.m. When, as I said, trains stop there after 11:59 p.m. I'd like to know why I can't enter the station and use the bathroom unless I have a ticket. Are you serious?
Alright, well-
We're continuing to look into that.
I still hope you are. Because I'm here with I'm here with Fantastic Four.
Alrighty,
It's most of the Mod Squad.
Rosalind,
alrighty,
Rosalind,
Ro-
no, Rosalind was speaking.
Rosalind?
Just one positive comment. I know we have the big issue with crime in the subway, but I've noticed recently that on the train, they tell you if an NYP presence is at that station.
Yeah.
So just from a sense of feeling safer, whether it is or not, I think that's a positive addition. Thank you.
Alrighty,
Andrew or Randy?
Alright, so we'll move down to,
Okay, Randy.
oh, so it's New York. Or it doesn't matter. Alright, Randy, go.
That's-
Alright, Randy will go with the Metro North.
Good afternoon, everybody. Get back to my page over here. So, sticky pick page here. Okay, so I wanted to first thank my fellow council members who took the time to go and speak on congestion pricing. You all did a great job, and it's important that the money gets raised for the capital program. So saw that already at the top. Oh, yeah, that's over here, okay. And they really actually it's old news, but Metro North restored the shopper specials that they used to run before the pandemic for the month of December. That's also old news, nothing reporting there. We had some delays in service months and months ago. So I'm not going to waste our time listening to this old stuff, so I'll yield back my time.
Alright, are there any Metro North related questions?
Randy, just letting you know, since we did open 3 stations on the Harlem line, just to let you know that I was at those stations with Q, and I have to say they were magnificent to see. Thank you.
I should have mentioned that. Yes, that's very important that they get that done. And I was looking at the MTA train time app, the one I use for Hudson Line and Long Island Railroad, and I noticed that the map hadn't been updated. So I sent a chat to the people to fix it, and they didn't fix it. So I did it again, and I signed it. That time I signed an MTA board member. I got a response in 15 minutes that they would fix it.
Karen?
I guess 3 questions. One, what's the shoppers special that you mentioned?
Those are extra trains that they run on the New Haven, mostly on the New Haven line, because in pre-pandemic days, there was a lot of ridership on the Saturdays going into the city on the New Haven line.
Okay.
And so they put some of them back, and they just added a couple of things, also a couple of trains on the Hudson and Harlem as well.
And what were those stations that you saw? 3
The
stations?
stations that got the ADA was Harsdale, Scarsdale, and Purdy's.
Okay.
Purdy's on they're all on the Harlem line.
Okay, and my last question, what's the latest with the Bronx?
With
stop?
the
Access.
Yeah.
access.
Mhm.
Jamie will.
Yeah, Jamie will
Oh,
be
okay.
here.
All
So,
right.
That one for
so
Jamie.
stand by.
I see, Jason has his hand raised. Jason, this is about Metro North? Jason?
Yes, regarding Metro North, you guys know that this week, New Jersey Transit is holding a series of public hearings regarding their fare hike. It's also affecting on service on the PCAC Valley and Perjuris lines.
No, it does,
If you guys have a chance, please attend their fair hearings that will be held tomorrow, Friday, at either Junction or New Jersey Transit headquarters in Newark, because it's very important that New Jersey Transit hear those constituents.
Jason, it does not
state,
affect,
because
it does not affect,
will in
Metro
on
does not affect Metro North service.
Metro North fares.
Metro North fares, sorry. Because
But
that's an,
anyways, Lisa,
okay.
but anyways, it will affect those of west of Hudson.
No, it does not affect the fares west of Hudson. No, that's a separate, those fares are set by Metro North. I see that Jesse and Mr. X have your hand raised, but I'd really like Andrew to have his report. And then we can come back to other questions, because at the TRC meeting, we ran out of time. So, I'd like Andrew to give his report, unless there are other member questions, and then we'll come back to everybody. Is that all right? Thank
All
you.
right, there you go.
Okay. As usual, there is a lot going on in the transit system, and as you'll hear from Jamie today, the biggest news is the suspension of the capital program, which means hundreds of stations, unless this gets resolved soon in the courts, hundreds of stations will not be made accessible. CBTC will not be installed on the Fulton Street line in Brooklyn or the Sixth Avenue line in Manhattan, which is doubly ridiculous because if we have it on Queens Boulevard on the Culver line in Brooklyn, you need the Sixth Avenue line to join those lines. You can't have CBTC on one section of a line and expect great results from it. So that's really bad. Phase 2 of Second Avenue to 125th Street is in jeopardy. The electrical work will go on, but the actual extension may not go on without congestion pricing funds. Basic maintenance is even in jeopardy without congestion pricing funds. And new subway cars and new M9As for Metro North and the Long Island Railroad are in jeopardy. So this is unheard of. We have an accessibility agreement to make 95% of the 472 subway stations accessible by the year 2055. The billions of dollars that will take would not be possible without congestion pricing capital funding. So this is a real problem. We have heard from various judges who are overseeing this that we may get a hearing, an answer, an adjudication by April, which if it's favorable or a finding of no environmental impact, we might be able to proceed in June as was scheduled, but that remains an unknown. But when you're talking basic maintenance is in jeopardy, we don't want to slide backwards. We have elevated structures, we have elevated commuter train lines, we have bridges, we have signals. We just cannot go backwards on this system. Basic maintenance cannot be, thrown out. Then we have issues of safety, including transit workers. You probably have heard many transit workers have been attacked in the last 2 weeks. The gash in the neck at Rockaway Avenue C train was horrendous. Fortunately, there was a really amazing doctor on board who saved the conductor. They are best friends for life now, of course, and they will be getting together frequently. That was just a great story. And the camera evidence that we have is allowing us to catch perps really, really well. Most of them have been caught. I don't want to say gentleman, but the man who attacked somebody at Penn Station because he thought the person was LGBTQ was caught. And as Chief Kemper has said numerous times, many of these perps have multiple arrests, and why they're not doing time is just beyond him and beyond most people. These people should not be out. And if you heard the governor's recent announcement, people that have attacked people in the system, and I'm assuming it means both riders and employees, she's going to move to allow judges to ban those folks from the system. When former Transit Police Chief Ed Delatorre was the former Transit Police Chief, he wanted to have a system where if you're caught for evading the fare 3 times, you're banned from the system for 1 year. And if you're caught in the system during that year, you could be arrested for trespassing, which carries a more significant penalty. The Governor Hochul, is now recommending a 3-year ban from the system if you're caught having harmed a passenger or an employee. So I think
It's a rider, because there's already legislation in place for assault against a transit worker.
okay, good. This is riders only.
This is
Yeah,
convicted of.
convicted of. Okay, well, it's a start. We need something. Obviously, you've also heard about the bag checks that are coming, the, yeah, via the National Guard. When we used to have bag checks, I noticed people that didn't want their bag checked would look and then would go to a different entry of that very same station and enter the station that way. So not sure this will work. It will certainly have an impact on throughput, but many of us have asked for, there is now a type of metal detector that can tell the difference between a gun and, you know, a vial of lipstick or something else that's much, much smaller and not dangerous. And many folks are asking for that to be placed in the system, which might make a lot of sense. Something that will keep our bus operators safer are these new bus partitions that are coming as soon as the state approves these e-mirrors that the bus driver, the bus operators will use so they can see clearly on both sides. And that will also stop some crazy accidents. The mirrors that are protruding from buses have crashed into other vehicles as they're maneuvering. So once this happens, bus operators will not be subject to being spit on, being attacked, or being harmed in any way. Also, the conductors should no longer have to stick their heads out of the cabin to look up and down the platforms. I know we have the technology that they can look at a camera, and one of the governor's things is to put cameras in the conductors' cabins, and whether that these cameras will also give them access to the platform so they don't have to stick their head out, I think would be a great addition, because we just cannot have our employees treated in this way. And obviously, from a safety, which has been in the news a lot, many riders have been attacked viciously in some cases. Robberies are up. When the additional 1,000 police officers were placed in the system, crime did drop. And in some categories, it has continued to drop. Grand larcenies, however, continue to rise, which is thefts of property worth over $1,000. So I hope nobody's carrying that much cash, but I guess a certain cell phone or something can be. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, people doze off and then they're grabbed out of their laps. I have noticed fewer people dozing off, but I still see some people dozing off. I have noticed some, yeah, it's, I would just advise everybody to know who's around you, but as for not riding, I would not give the system over to thugs. We must continue to ride. It is our vital asset. It is the veins and arteries of our system, and it's the economic engine of our city, which is the economic engine of our state. So we should ride, and I think the more good people ride, the harder it is on people who mean other people harm. And I have seen people intervene in arguments and tone the temperature down, and I think that's great. And if I notice on weekends, ridership is quite high, which means for discretionary travel, people are opting to use the system, which is great. So we want to see that happen. I do, of course, notice fare evasion is off the charts. I cannot take a ride anymore without seeing multiple incidents of people beating the fare. All walks of life are doing it now. People in suits, grandmas, children, you name it. Everybody's doing it. It's the thing to do. Let's stick it to the man, you know? So hopefully I have asked about this and learned that a request for information, such as what it might cost for the new turnstiles we saw when the Blue Ribbon Panel on Fare Evasion gave their final report, those turnstiles were tough to beat. We all tried to do it. You can't go under or over them. And the slam gates were such that when one person went through, it stopped the next person from going through. They were amazing.
Except the ones.
Except those aren't the ones from the Blue Ribbon Panel, though. Those were something we put in temporarily as a fix, and those at Sutphen Archer obviously did not work. But here's hoping we get that fixed, because once we stop that, we will stop a lot of the crime in the system as well. And I'll stop there.
I think Randy, then Trudy.
So I took a chance to did some riding this morning, and I was at 50th Street on the one.
Not on
And-
the uptown side, I hope it's
No,
closed.
yeah, I saw that. So actually, when I got off the train at that station, I saw two of the security guards at the north end of the station. And I was wondering, well, why are you not down at the other end where the fair is? And she said, we're from the other side. So I went down there and I saw rampant Asian people doing what, and I asked the two guys, they were, a man and a woman were they were guarding the inside of the slam gate. I said, why? We're not police. I said, well, why does one of you at least come out here where people can see you here and maybe you'll think twice about trying to come through. We're not police. I mean, it was a horrible answer they gave me. And I still have to figure out who I'm going to talk to about it. But yes, I did see it myself.
Have you ever noticed that the slam gate at Bowling Green on the uptown side is frequently affixed in the open position because it gets stuck there? I have to pull it closed sometimes when I'm down there. Who was next? Trudy? Trudy.
Boy, is Trudy next, and I'm going to sound like all the people who have been calling me all week with the complaints about the number 6 and then the 4 or the 5. It has taken me, that's why I came in late, because I promised everybody I would be early. It has taken me an hour and 10 minutes to get here from the 77th Street station. The trains were not coming in. When I came downstairs, one train had pulled out, but the platform was, we weren't talk about safety. When a platform is so full, and this is supposed to be the fashionable Upper East Side where everybody is polite and nice, people were literally cursing out loud when I finally got down at the station. And two people recognized me and said, "What the F is going on with your subway?" And I said, "Well, look up at this sign. It says, I think a train just pulled out, and there's another one. I don't know why it's going to be 8 minutes on the, what do you call the things on top?
Countdown clock.
The time clock, yeah.
Countdown clock.
Countdown clock, okay? It said 8 minutes and then the next train 10 minutes. It's supposed to be, I believe, a 4-minute headway, but even the countdown clock said 8. After 8 minutes, and people are coming over to me and saying, "It's wrong, it's wrong." Yes, it was wrong. Nothing arrived. And Andrew, I kept on calling you and I couldn't get through. And I don't know why, I guess couldn't get through with it because he usually, if there is some problem, he'll tell me. Finally, I got through to Chris, and as finally a train pulled in, I was on that platform. A train did come in after 10 minutes, except it went zooming right through, which even frustrated
6?
people. It was a 6. And it went zooming right through 70. And of course, anybody who knows me, because enough people by now know me that and I am so PO'd, but these people are blaming me for what's going on. Anyway, finally, a train pulls in. It was so only because I'm a little old lady and I said, "Please let me through," that I was able to get on that train that pulled in because it was so, and that train was packed. And then I get on the train and they make an announcement that this train is going to run, they made that announcement at 51st Street. At each stop, people couldn't get on or off. It was so bad. And I'm going into detail right now because somebody has to hear this and tell me as a customer and as a user, so I can tell all these other people, because I promised
I will
those
find out
who
what
I
went
knew.
on.
Okay, wait a minute. Then a train pulls in after 10 minutes, zooms right through, which even frustrated everybody else. Finally, I'm on the train and it gets through at 51st Street. It announces this train is going to run express down to 14th Street. That got people angry who were already on
Behind
the
schedule,
train.
that's why.
And they said, behind schedule,
Yeah, because you had to
12
wait so
minutes,
long.
12 minutes headway. Okay. And then this train, even though it skipped all the stops, I have never been on a so-called express that ran so slow. So at 14th Street, I finally changed. The conductor was getting beat up by everybody who was on the platform. I said, "Could you just tell me if I should stay on this train or go?" She said, "Oh, I better announce that we are no longer express. We're going to go straight through." So I went across the platform at 14th Street, and miracle, it only was 2 minutes for finally a number 5 to show up. And that's how I got here. This is Trudy's adventures in Subway Land today. This is ridiculous.
There obviously was a
And there were
problem.
no announcements made. And even this 8-minute headway between, it was wrong. So I am
I
now
have
here not
reported
as a
incorrect
member.
countdown clocks quite a few times in the last few
Not
days.
as a member of the, not as somebody on the piece, but somebody who, and I've been riding these subways forever and ever and ever. And actually, I brought something which I will pass around because while I've been flat on my back, and I'm not supposed to be on my feet as much as I was this morning either
We're
with my
racing the
health
time
condition.
because our school
I
is
am,
coming.
I am taking the time, okay? I am taking the
You
time
have to
because.
share the time.
Okay, fine. I'm going to pass around for you while I'm cleaning out drawers, all the material, including a whole write-up from the PCAC, which I think you'll be interested in going back to 2004.
Yeah.
I think I showed it to some of you, but I'll pass it around because
Thank
I
you.
think this is pleasant. This is
Thank you.
nice.
Okay, we have Walter, then Sharon, and then Rosalind. Thank you.
Okay, my question is, do we know if these criminals, when the police apprehend them, are they being prosecuted? I mean, I'm sure those who commit felonies, like stabbing somebody and that sort of thing, I'm sure they're being prosecuted, but there's lots of other people that are apprehended. And I assume MTA is following through with the various DA's offices to make sure these folks are being prosecuted as severely as they can be. And also this fare evasion, as we all know, is totally out of hand. And I think they need to take more severe steps against it, even before hopefully new hardware will be coming and will be installed, but that's going to take quite a lot of time to get
Quite a
that
while.
in place. And so meanwhile, they should be concentrating on apprehending these people and maybe make some examples out of some of them to try to stop this fare evasion, which is costing millions of dollars, as we all know.
So, Walter, as part of the 5-point plan that the governor announced yesterday, one of the key points was a partnership and close collaboration between the MTA, the NYPD, and the MTA police and the DAs, so that they would be able to communicate
Yes.
the extent of some of the recidivist activity, the people who are known to them to continue to commit crimes. The mayor held up a visual on some of his TV appearances yesterday. Like 55 people committed 1,100 crimes, something like that.
Right.
So there were in some of the news clips today, there were a couple of the DAs who expressed sincere gratitude for this burgeoning partnership that they said was overdue. So I think
That's good news.
that's a good news and step in that direction of a collaboration and a communication, which is a good way to ensure that everybody's talking to everybody else, and another tool in the toolbox.
And
Yes,
that's
that's good to
needed
know.
because,
And
yeah,
this
there was
is
a
all
point
long
made at the
overdue, so it's good to know they're taking it very seriously at this point.
Yeah, but there was a point made at the MTA board meeting by Jano that they're not indicting everybody that's arrested. I mean, it was what, 50%, something like that?
Something like that.
It was only like 50% of the people. So we do need that communication open. The DAs need to be harder on this situation. They're just letting too much slide through. And it's getting really out of hand.
No, just so you know, the other part of this is the whole question of bail.
Judy,
All right,
I'm
we
sorry,
can't
we
get
have
into that.
a list of.
No,
No,
I'm giving some
I'm sorry,
information.
Judy, we have
Go ahead.
Sharon
Laura.
and then Rosalind and then Bert and then Trudy. There. And for the other folks who have your hand raised, as you know, we take the members first. Thank you.
I'm sorry Trudy had a bad experience.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry Trudy had such a bad experience, but in all fairness, at 11:32, I caught the 6th at 59th Street. I transferred to the Express and I was here at 2 minutes of 12. So it's not. And the other thing, I just would, all of these things we talk about, I'm 80 years old, and when I was young, we adhered to the laws. All these problems, the toll evasion is because people are not paying their tolls. The bathrooms are because people abuse them if you leave them open. The delays are because people hold the doors. We're lawless, and as long as we have this kind of society, it's very hard for us to do anything to correct these things.
Thank you. Good point.
Well, just to piggyback on what Sharon said, there was a whole movement against politeness. We're too politically correct and so forth. So now we see what has resulted from that. However, a question regarding the people who are banned from the system. Do we have any sense of how many people who are banned are actually caught? Because that feels like it's not that effective, was my first question.
It's only happened on the Long Island Railroad, and I think it's only been one person so
Yeah,
far.
nobody's banned from the subways yet.
Okay. I just don't see how you're going to enforce that, and I don't know if it's
Cameras,
so you will be monitoring the cameras to
I
find
won't,
these
but
people?
some folks
I
will.
mean, because it sounds, knowing who they are and keeping them out of the system, my only point is you want to put your energy toward something that's going to benefit. My other question and I guess point is when we get the, news reports on all the crime in the subway, there ought to be more attention given to people who are caught because, we just hear about this happen, but there's no follow-up to say, okay, persons XYZ were caught. So if there was from a communication standpoint, more focus on some people being caught, that might be helpful. Thank you.
There are, every time a major perp who has committed a crime in the subway has been caught, it's been all over the news. Like I just reported that person that attacked that gay couple at Penn Station. So and one of the people who attacked a conductor, when he was caught, that was absolutely all over the news.
Shooting up at Fourth Avenue.
Yes, yes.
Bert, and then Chris.
Just going back to what was said before about bail. I heard this morning, the governor said that bail is now being reinforced. Did we know anything about that? That's what she said this morning.
That's what I want to talk about when you.
We'll wait for Trudy to.
All right,
get
I'll
that.
let Judy talk about it.
First, Chris.
One thing just want to like, we need to remind also with seniors and disabled people when they're going through the gates, and we're talking about not just the Atlantic or Jamaica, is that what we're seeing also is people who do pay for the gate, who are wheelchairs or walker or stroller, people like to sneak behind them or hit them. So there's something that like to add something in. Today I was in Atlantic, somebody tried to do that to a stroller. Nice try. MTA police combined with Transit 34 caught them. So just to let you know, nice try. It's not going to work, but at least the cameras are working. It's just that we just need them closer to that area where it's heavy ridership entrance. Not just the back entrance of Atlantic, not just Long Island Railroad, but also the Pacific side as well. And I could tell you, I've seen that in all directions. Thank you.
First of all, on the question of bail, it's not just with the subway. And the governor in those of you who just saw pieces of it didn't get, especially the question of bail. They identify the people, some of whom, as Andrew talked about, are arrested. And then because of the no bail situation for quote unquote minor incursions, like if it's anything less than you're killing somebody, you get out without any bail. And the governor is trying to do something about it, but it's not just about her subway, reinforcement of the subway. It's with everything because people are floating all around who have committed what most of us would think are major crimes, but they haven't quite killed anybody. Or even if it's only second degree. I'm not going to go through a whole speech about what's going on with our criminal justice system. Okay. As far as what Sharon says, yes, I got down. I have to walk very slowly. And unfortunately, my station at 77th Street will never be accessible because, as it's been explained to me and the community board and the elected officials, because of the amount of hard rock and everything under the stations, there is just no way of my getting an elevator. So I'm going to learn to live without it. So I walk slowly down the stairs and I get and there was a train pulling out. That was 11:25. I can't believe it took 7 minutes to go 2 stops, but obviously it did if she said it was 11:32 at 59th Street. But that was the last train out until you can see what,
All right.
all the times I was calling you. So I'm just telling you that the situation, and yes, there's crime. Yes, there's crime, and a lot of what they call subway crime is really crime all over this city right now. It is just getting worse and worse. If any of you heard Mayor Adams.
Well, all we can really do is solve our problems.
But
Yeah,
our
no,
problem is part of a greater problem above ground,
can't
all
solve
below
that.
ground.
We're
So
lucky
we
we
have
could solve it.
three other hands
Yeah.
who've been raised, and then Mr. X, we have you, but we also, Jesse, you haven't commented yet, and we have, when Jamie comes in, we're gonna turn
Yeah,
it
when
over. to
Jamie
him.
comes in, we're just gonna turn it
Right,
over to
but
Jamie.
Jesse, you haven't gone yet, so why don't you go? Thank you.
Hi guys, how y'all doing today? Reason why I'm speaking today is because of the horrific hate crime vandalism I discovered on my home station yesterday, 86th Street, 4th Avenue. And I put it in the MTA app, and it's heartbreaking. It shows like a Palestinian flag. It says death to our taxes, blah blah blah. So I want to share it here today. I'm still heartbroken. I couldn't sleep over it. I'm sorry. So I agree with the governor's plan. Yesterday, I was at that press conference, and she's right. Yes, we need to step up. And that was it. I ran out of other ideas. I ran out. That's all. Sorry about that.
Has those signs been removed from your station?
I don't know, Andrew. When I got home last night, I got off the 85th Street side. I don't know. I haven't been back out since
Okay,
I got home last night.
we'll look
Sorry.
into it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now, without further ado, we have been joined by our featured speaker, Jamie Torres Springer, President. Thank you.
Everyone.
Also, yep, there you go. You know how to, I know you know how to work.
I do,
Yes.
for better or for worse. I spent a lot of my time working these. How's everyone?
Good, sir.
Oh, I'll
Not
show-
great.
show you after.
You
Yeah.
missed my whole,
It's okay, Judy. We're here to, he's got 30 minutes, then we're going to listen to you. Thank you.
It's great to see you all. We see each other in a lot of different contexts. I think you hear this from us all the time, but we really can't, it's not possible to exaggerate how important what you all are doing as part of PCAC is to what we're trying to get done. I mean, I really think of, it's almost like we're one organization here. And, in every respect, our board members, Lisa, Kara, our ever-present, disability advocates, and many of the rest of you, being there, whether at board meetings or public events, or in the quieter ways that you make yourselves known and help us to advance what we're doing, support what we're doing when we're doing the right thing, correct us. If there's something that we could be doing better, whether it is, down in the details, or, also up at the higher levels of the big picture. It's just an extraordinary, unique relationship, and we're so happy that we have the PCAC to work with. So, thank you. Yeah, it's good. I don't know what's best. I mean, I have all kinds of slides, and I mean, what's useful for me to talk about?
So I took a look at the slides.
Yeah.
Which were great. No, I mean, I've seen them before, but I think doing maybe a quick run through
Sure.
of the slides, because I know we only have you for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We're talking about some of what the capital, some of the threats and opportunities.
Yeah.
Or opportunities and threats, the
Okay,
future
yeah.
and what the future could not be.
Yeah.
And what we need,
That's okay.
would all be, I think, terrific. All of that distilled into 30 minutes for time for Q&A.
Okay, fine. No problem. Do you have a clicker or are you just gonna press with a Kara? You're gonna, okay. All right, so go ahead, Kara. So I'm gonna focus on the capital program, which as you know, I'm responsible for. I've probably showed you this slide before, and I know it's a geeky slide, but you guys don't mind geeky things around here. It's very important to remind everybody what we're doing. We've created this very unique capital agency at the MTA in C&D. It's probably going on 5 years old. I don't know what its exact birthday is. I should probably figure that out. But it's so unique. You know, I was just with Jano, and we were signing a pledge to improve equity in how we spend our capital dollars, and we were doing it with Phil Washington, who runs the Denver Airport, and Dorval Carter, who runs Chicago Transit Authority. And I was talking to Dorval about how they implement their capital work, and they're still, you know, I'm sure they do a good job, but they're still back in that other structure, which, you know, is where things are sort of really divided up and diffuse in terms of control. We don't have that problem. At our agency, we start with the planning that you saw in the 20-year needs assessment. We look ahead at what our needs are. Then we pull together the capital program every 5 years, which we're doing now. We get it funded and passed. That's all our responsibility. Now, obviously, we do it with the operating agencies, with transit and the railroads and bridges and tunnels. But we have an independent point of view about it, about what it takes to get that work done and how we prioritize. And then we have this extraordinary function we call development, which is packaging things in strategic ways and figuring out how we're going to get them done, especially with managing outages in the system, which is like the currency of our system. And then we have this very modern delivery delivery department that with the project CEOs that's out there, they take full responsibility for getting things done on budget and on schedule. It's very unique in public capital delivery. Many of you know I used to run the city public works agency, DDC. And it wasn't like that. I mean, it was, you couldn't get anything. It was very hard to get anything done. You got OMB oversight, Mayor's Office of Contract Services, the city council, the comptroller, all these limits imposed by Albany on what you're allowed to do. And it results in a culture of sort of, okay, we'll try to get this done. We'll do our best. Maybe we'll try to get this contract awarded. That's not the way the culture is at C&D. At C&D, it's like, how much are we getting awarded this year? When, we were doing the announcement at 14th and 7th station on the IRT, and I was there with the vice president, many of you know, Matt Zetwalk, and the project executive, and the contractor. And it's like we're all standing in a circle after this press event talking about, okay, when is this elevator coming online? What do we need to do? How are we going to make sure we bring it in on time? There's a real culture of that we're creating. And I know it's hard, it's hard to describe that and make a headline out of that, but that's kind of what's going on at C&D. So I can't spend that much time on every slide. So go ahead, Karen. We're seeing results. We're building better. You've seen all this. We're accomplishing things faster. We're saving money. The next slide also talks about, go ahead, some of the savings we've seen. Over $1 billion last year of savings, which is savings on the bids in the contracts versus what we think they're going to come in at. Force account savings, because we're working much more efficiently in the system. The insurance industry has recognized that we're doing an effective job, and we've gotten a discount in placing our insurance, and we're saving lots of time. So we're seeing results, and that's really important for the next capital program, which we'll come to in a minute. Go ahead. So what are we doing? You know all this. The last one is just a cool picture of pouring the concrete at the 63rd Street direct track fixation, right? That's why we've talked about this project, Andrew, a lot. This is why the Roosevelt Island, the service is shuttling. We're pretty confident we're going to get it finished this quarter, which is what we committed to. It's very, very difficult, complicated project, especially because the new Grand Central Madison Tunnel is right underneath it. So you can imagine, sort of how complicated that is. This is one of the last places in the system where just because, and I admit I actually don't know exactly why, but just because of the condition of the track, we can't just pull track out and replace it. We have to shut the tunnel down, rip everything out, put brand new track in, and then pour the concrete for the what's called the invert that the track sits on top of. But by doing this, this track is going to last for decades and decades and decades. And we've had to do it in three locations in total in the system. This is the last of it. And it's very disruptive. You know, it's having to disrupt the service to Roosevelt Island and turn it into a shuttle for a few months. You know, we don't do it, we don't do it, willingly. I mean, we have to do it, but we're trying to do it efficiently. And I think we are successful. And I'll say, I've been in there 4 or 5 times with the team. I brought Rich Davey and Demetrius down there a few weeks back. Carl Weisbrod, the chair of our TMRB, came in there with me because he lives on Roosevelt Island. You know, there's a lot of attention. But the point is why I start with this. This is 80% of our work, state of good repair. It's not like we're out there throwing money at, dreams. It's keeping the system running. That's how we're able to achieve the on-time performance that we always talk about, is the state of good repair work. Okay, so the next one, signaling. That's really interesting because it's a combination of state of good repair work, replacing track, replacing interlockings that are getting decades and decades old, and then upgrading the signal system so that you all know what CBTC does. And we're doing it on 5 lines right now. I mean, up to this point, the MTA managed to get the 7 done and the L done. Right now, we're doing it on 5 lines. And we're hoping to do 2 more lines once we get through the congestion pricing problem. But so lots of work going on, state of good repair and basic system improvement to improve reliability. Go ahead. You all know, I don't need to just dwell on this, big commitment to ADA. Thank you, everybody for your partnership on this. And we're cranking them out like never before. You know all that. Go ahead, Kara. Then, of course, it's very big priority for me. Once we move beyond state of good repair and talk about improvements to our system, we made this commitment. I'm very proud of this commitment that last Earth Day, we made the commitment to get to 85% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from our operations by 2040. That's, you have to consider that. I'll do the numbers. We, as a system, because we are a mass transit system, the region avoids 22 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions every year. But in operating the system, we generate 2 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions. So we like to say our net effect is we save 20 million tons. But we're trying to reduce that 2 million tons too by 85% by 2040. Half of that is moving to zero emission buses, and we're underway. We placed that order at the end of last year. We got a lot of depot work to do. We're in the midst of getting that done. Another big system improvement. Good. Yeah, I know. Right. That's what we'll have to name a. We'll have to name a station that or something. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. And then look, you all know. One of the things that I'm proud of is that, Jana will often ask me and C&D to take on, or help with some of the more difficult challenges. Maybe they're not always quite capital related. So we're finishing Omni, bringing Omni to the system. That's going well. It's not easy. We have a very difficult vendor that we work with, but they're called Cubic, and we're all stuck with them all around the world. But so we're moving that, and then this last deep concern that we all have about fare evasion, I would say we're sort of focusing on the physical side of that. How do we make the fare array more difficult to evade from? Nothing's going to be foolproof, but this is the Sutphin fare array that we were able to put in these new called WAGs and SAGs. They are an great accessibility benefit. They're great near the airport because it means people can bring luggage through more easily. And then also it is a way to stop fare evasion at the turnstiles. And also we're able to replace the slam gate with some of these. And look, this is we don't know exactly what's going to work. We have a lot of expertise. So, but our attitude here is experimentation and innovation. So we put these in. You all saw the TikTok, right? We actually, I sort of knew that was good, that was a vulnerability when we put it in. You could hold we thought it would be an umbrella. You could hold an umbrella, over on the paid side and trip the sensor to open it. And so people figured that out. New Yorkers are smart, and they figured it out quickly. And then guess what? We solved the problem. We made a little, I don't think it's in this shot. We had the vendor make a little partition that's sitting in between each of them. Can't do it now. Of course, there was no story about how we solved that problem, right? But it's solved. And so we're just solving the problems and we're figuring out, and we got to modernize the fare rate. It's part of the fare evasion problem. It's not the whole fare evasion problem, but it's part of it. So we're doing that as part of the capital program. Then you all know how much time we spend, money we spend on expansion. This is only 17% of our program. So, it's very important, obviously, but our system is huge. And so, I always tell people sort of don't focus so much on the expansion projects. And if you're concerned about cost and things like that, 83% of our program, the cost is pretty in line with what it costs to build in other systems. We've had problems on some of these projects over the years, but we're very proud that Third Track came in on time and on budget, under budget. The Penn Station, Long Island Railroad Concourse, on time, under budget. Second Avenue Subway Phase 2, we found $1.3 billion in savings on that project that we're harvesting. Interborough Express we're moving forward with. So there's tons of work going on. You all know the Grand Central Madison story. I'm not going to dwell on that or on the work in Herald, but I could. And Penn Access, I'll be right. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's too many. It's Penn Access is a very complicated project because of Amtrak. And having to work on Amtrak's right of way. We're not shy about saying that they have caused significant delays on that project. We think we're digging our way out of that. We have a great project team up there. Yeah, so New Jersey Transit is a partner in Penn Station, and the three railroads are working together on a plan for the future of that. So, that's everything that we're doing. Go ahead. And I'll skip this because this is, the big, that's Penn Access. This is Second Avenue Subway Phase 2. You guys know all about these projects. Go ahead, Kara. And this is the Interborough Express that we're working on. Go ahead. We've been very clear. We need congestion pricing to get any of this done. We've had to put the capital program effectively on hold until we get our way through the litigation. The next slide shows you, talked about this a lot, what is on hold. This is a map of just some of what's on hold. And you can see it's more than 20 stations for ADA accessibility. It's a lot of state of good repair investment. It's investments. It's $1 billion for more cars for both the subway and the railroads. It's the next set of zero emissions buses. We have 270 that we want to order that we can't order right now. It's the modernization of signals, CBTC, on the Fulton line on the AC and the 6th Avenue line BDFM in Manhattan. And those are, we have massive line segments. Those projects, even by getting a line done, we deal with so much of what slows trains down and makes them unreliable the whole way. So thank you. It's an improvement from Far Rockaway all the way to Washington Heights. Those two lines, 1.6 million daily riders, more than the next 5 American transit systems combined, just on those two lines. That's work that we really want to get going. Second Avenue Subway, we started the early work, but we can't do the tunnel job. We can't put that out until we're done with the congestion pricing litigation. Go ahead, Kara. The last thing I was going to say, you heard this also. This is just something big that we've done in the last few months. In November, we put out the 20-year needs assessment. It was a great exercise by this new planning department that we created at C&D that's led by Frederica Cuenca and Alyssa Cobb-Conan. We looked at, I think it's on the next slide, we looked at 6 million assets for the first time and really tried to put everything on a level playing field. The way it used to work was you know, you have to sort of go out and somebody's running this shop or this yard. He's got some notes in, you know, the back of his office about what's, you know, do we need to replace this? Do we need to replace that? And then frankly, we've been very frank about this. Often somebody would then come and say, you know, make it fit this number. And that would be the needs assessment. We didn't do that. We put everything together, looked at it all, what's in poor condition, what's in marginal condition, and we published that assessment. We didn't put a number on it because we don't yet know what the projects are that we will use to deal with that. But we will put a number on it in October for the capital plan. But what we did was we focused on these three big threats to our system. And look, you know, congestion pricing, hopefully we'll be through it in a few months. We'll implement it. We'll have the funding available. These are the long-term issues, right? That this is what keeps me up at night. The age of the infrastructure, it's deteriorating faster than we can keep up with state of good repair. We need.
Yours was.
Yeah.
You know, not the signal updates and the purchase of buses, but state of good repair is on
Yes.
hold. That's the scariest.
That's right. That's right. I mean, we will prioritize state of good repair. We will keep the system running. But yes, you're right that it is a big issue. But, you know, as we move forward to the next capital program, guess what? We're going to need a big investment in state of good repair, you know, to keep up. There's specific components that are not keeping up. Do you want to ask something?
Can I ask a question?
Sure. I'm almost
I
done.
wish,
Yeah.
it's very reassuring to hear what you're saying, that it seems to be planned. One of the things I wonder is about some scheduling. When they replaced the 42nd Street elevators, and now we're doing the 59th Street escalators.
Yeah.
And they closed them down for 6 months.
Mhm.
And I don't understand. I mean, you can build a house in 6 months.
Well,
You know, or even a matter of weeks. I don't understand. Could you explain the thinking that goes into that timing?
I guess I would ask, can you build a house in 6
You
months
know.
while there are trains running past you and under you and over you and beside you 24 hours a day? You know, you know, I don't know, I mean, one way, well, look, you know, honestly, we are fast tracking. I mean, there's a few different ways to answer this question. I mean, first of all, the things that drive time in the system tend to be the density that we're working around, the operating environment, meaning the 24/7 operation of the subway. And so, and then, you know, there's a lot of, I guess the third thing is a lot of logistics. You know, again, sometimes I go back to my old job, you know, the reason that it was so hard to get buildings built in New York City is you don't have anywhere to stage. And it's so important, you know, so we say to somebody, okay, like go demolish this escalator in place. Don't do anything outside the blue wall and then rebuild it in place, you know, and don't disrupt customers walking down the stairway immediately adjacent. It adds time because of logistics. But honestly, the real factor is outages. And I know that you say it's an escalator, it doesn't need, what do you need an outage for? It very, very often, you know, the equipment room, the power supply might be coming from a tunnel, right? So you end up, we have this amazing organization downstairs run by this amazing woman, Jennifer Cohen now. She's got a plan for outages every weekend, mostly nights, and then, you know, some longer term outages. And she's constantly getting, I need to take this track out for 2 hours so I can get into this place with a flagger and you can imagine the job has to wait until you get that outage. So we're getting much better at that. I guess I would also say we're getting faster. And part of the reason for that is we're bundling, which means we actually just awarded at the end of last year a contract for 37 escalators to be rebuilt and a number of elevators I think are in the same contract. I forget the number. But so one contractor now has a contract the responsibility to get those built in an efficient way, and they can deploy resources faster. You can, there's something called economies of scale, right? Which means they're able to deploy a whole bunch of resources and get things done faster. And that's what bundling accomplishes for us. And it's what we're really focused on in delivering the program because of that issue. And disrupting service and disturbing customers, it's the last thing we want to do. But we have to do it to keep up with the aging infrastructure. Just to finish, because I know, I'll finish real fast, just to say, also the changing climate. We put out a resilience plan. We're actually putting out a longer version of it. We're very focused on stormwater in the system. I can go on about that all day, but we were able to make big investment in addressing coastal flooding after Sandy. In some places there's some overlap, but in a lot of places there's not. We have to do a lot of station work. Sometimes it's easy. You just raise a stair. It's actually not easy to raise a stair. You have to rebuild the whole staircase and shut it down in order to do it. Then the railing doesn't line up, and the railing fabricator went out of business. But anyway, we're doing that. We're working with the city on that too, and then we're also recognizing, we're all you're the most our riders, and the way we get information, the way we expect to be able to communicate, the cell service, the new app, the data, the countdown clocks, the out front signs, all that stuff, we have to keep up with that. And Omni's part of that too, and the fare gates are part of that too. So we're investing in all that. Just go real quick, Kara, just to say, it takes us to the priorities for the next program. Go ahead, rebuild, improve, expand. And then I was going to do a little more on climate vulnerability. I'll skip that just because I'm going on too long, and just go ahead then to my favorite slide that we did for the needs assessment, which is right at the end. The one more. Yeah, there you go. This is what I sometimes refer to for Back to the Future Part 2 fans as the Biff Tannen versus Marty McFly version of the future. But it's funny, we've sort of made this to call attention to our long-term challenge and why we need the next capital program. But this is what congestion pricing, this is the difference between a world with congestion pricing and a world without congestion pricing. So it's a real threat. It's a short-term threat. And the next thing is we're all going to need to work together on getting a fully funded 25 to 29 capital program. Yeah. Yes. Happy to do that, but someone was, sorry, I didn't.
Jamie, first, thank you for the work that you and your team do for us, because the city wouldn't exist without, the transit system. I have two questions. You mentioned, part of the complication is the fact that you don't have any place to stage. New York is unusual because we have this 24-hour transit system. Has any consideration ever been given to having, for a temporary period of time, closed hours like Metro North? It's like, if you don't get your train by this time, then you're not going to take a train, because it just seems like the system is so complicated. And my second question is, the cost for the lawsuits regarding congestion pricing, does that diminish what's available for everything else? And if it does, could we publicize that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I'll answer that first, just to say we do everything we can to publicize that, the impact of the delays. In fact, your champion here, Andrew Albert, asked me that. Was it you or was it Haida? It was you. Asked me that question at the board so that we could answer that more specifically, right? Which is, yes, it is costing us, escalation, right? Is the escalation in construction costs. It costs us millions and millions of dollars for every week.
You did like.
And we're trying to, call attention to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the number on Second Avenue subway we think it's $15 million a month. Just imagine it's a $7 billion project, right? So just escalate that by 3% or 4%. On 24/7 service, first of all, I would call it a little above my pay grade, but I think it's one of the things that it's not only one of the things we all value, we like to talk about how great it is, but it's also, we're a 24/7 vibrant city. But the reason that that's the case is that a lot of folks who work in service industries, administrative professionals, healthcare workers, they are the ones that are traveling in the middle of the night in order to keep the city running. Uniform, officers, EMT, keep people safe, keep people in good health. And that's why we run 24/7 service. And well, look, other cities are different. They don't have anywhere near the density of New York. You can get places by car.
They drive.
It's
At the height of COVID, we did close down at night.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And even the good reason for doing it, people said they would rather risk getting COVID and risk everything else than have it shut down. I mean,
Yeah.
and also, since I represent Manhattan and the whole city, and I've been doing this longer than any of you, I can tell you that one of the things that the subway, that the Interborough Rapid Transit Company, which is what IRT stands for, by the way, has been known from the time it opened, which in October will be 120 years. I'll talk about that later and what's going on with that after Jamie is left.
okay. Yeah.
But it has always been, no matter what happens in any other city, and now I'm sounding like a New York chauvinist, which I am,
Yeah.
that we are a 24/7
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
And so we have to have a 24/7 transit system,
yeah.
and it ain't gonna change.
Yeah, but again, for me, I agree with you. And the underlying reason is, it's people, low income people, people who are, marginalized, people living in poverty. They're the ones that are riding the system in the middle of the night. So I don't think we're willing to, sacrifice service for
They
them.
won't
We are,
let it.
And
we are
also-
so lucky. We have there's only 3 places in the world that have 24/7, and we have 2 of the 3, us,
Yeah.
Path, and
Right.
then the red and the blue line in Chicago. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I would say anybody who lives on a line that does get shut down, 7 train, it knows how horrible that is.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I
so
did
you-
want to
yeah,
ask
Yeah.
Could,
so,
uh,
yeah,
about
yeah.
funding the next capital
Yes,
program, since
yes.
the congestion pricing is for this capital plan.
Yes,
And then how, even though it will continue to bring in money, that's to pay off debt service
yeah.
for,
Yeah. Mhm.
right, so how we continue to do that going forward?
Yep, it's the time to look ahead. I mean, you start to, it's not easy. We start to look at, first, we start with the need. And then we start with the project. So we know we have some sense of how much we need to invest. And then, yeah, you got to there are some sources that are pretty reliable each time we get a certain amount of federal funding. The state makes a contribution, the city makes a contribution. There are other sources of, other sources of bond financing that our CFO Kevin Willens, works on. And then, yeah, we have to figure out how much is left, and there's it's complicated to figure out how to fund that, but we have to fund it. And it's one of the things is, it's like every 5 years, we have to put together a 5-year capital program and figure out how to fund it. So it's not like it should be a surprise to anybody that we're gonna have to do that.
Okay, it's 1:30. We've
Yeah.
got time probably for 1 or 2 more
And
questions.
Mike hasn't spoken yet.
Mike hasn't spoken yet, so.
What happens to the projects that don't get done in the current capital plan? Do they they kind of continue to exist outside the next capital plan? Do they get rolled into that? How do you feel about
Tell me what you mean by projects that don't get
Well,
done.
you're not- everything that was stipulated for the current capital plan is not gonna get done by the end of 20.
Oh, just, you mean by the end of this year?
Right, so
Yeah.
what happens to those?
Yeah, so historically, it's true that the MTA does not usually get through a 5-year capital program in 5 years. It's hard. And I'll tell you, there's a good reason for that, which is by the time we get it all together and get it all funded and passed and accepted by what's called the CPRB in Albany, that's our departure point. And some projects take a lot longer than, the 5-year window to scope, design, procure, award, design, construct, close out, right? So that has historically been the case. We're doing much better this time, despite the fact that we essentially lost the first year to COVID, and that we are now losing day by day delays to congestion pricing. We still have been awarding, on average, $9 billion a year worth of work for the last 3 years. And so we're in much better shape. The answer is we keep going. I mean, if it's going to likely, if it takes, into 2025, I mean, we actually still are finishing projects that, believe it or not, I think we have a couple from the 10 to 14 plan still going. We have a number of projects from the 15 to 19 plan. So that funding authority is there for us and the project is on the books and we just move it forward.
Okay, Chris, do you have something?
Say,
I'm sorry, I'm just a little distracted right now, sorry. My question will be easy because there's a lot of confusion with accessibility. And the thing I just want to add in is regarding with the elevators like Sheepshead Bay and Church Avenue are still in construction right now and almost done. They're not going to be affected like
No.
those stations.
No, it's anything that's in construction is still moving. In fact, there were some things that were being advertised, to the market, but in procurement, those are still moving. We're just not putting anything new out until we're done. So that's where those more than 20 come from. Those are future packages. We actually have one package that's all federally funded that we probably will put out.
All right,
But we're still figuring that
last
out.
question, and Trudy, please keep it brief.
I'm going to keep it very brief, but then Jamie, I want to meet with you about this because I keep on getting calls and that has to do with the Second Avenue subway or the Q line or everything. I know the electrical work is continuing. But I keep on getting calls from people affected by the Second Avenue subway, wanting to know if the lawsuits continue. And we just have new lawsuits, not from out of state anymore, but from a whole group from Greenwich Village and another whole group from the firefighters and what have you. So what will happen if these lawsuits continue and they're not resolved? And will there just be a halt or
Yeah,
what?
we're on hold and that'll have to continue until we can. It's just all about, I mean, these are bonds that have to be right there, bond holders that will have to buy the bonds from us. We say, okay, we're going to have $1 billion a year. Will you give me a bond for $15 billion that I can, use to invest in capital? And the bond holders are not going to buy it from us unless they know that we're not in litigation over the $1 billion a year. So until that's clear, we're not in a position to award more work.
But we are continuing with at least what's been started on it.
Early work, yes.
The
we're
early
proceeding.
work, the
Yeah,
electrical,
yeah. It's
whatever.
relocating utilities. and the bike
Utilities,
path.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I promise, James, that we get you out of
Yep.
here.
So
We
we're
do
out
have
of
some
time.
questions in the chat
Okay.
that I will send to him for you.
Sounds good.
And thank
I'm
you
happy
so
to be
much.
here. We
We
really
can keep you here for another hour,
I'd love
but
to always
I've
love to
made a
stay.
promise.
We really value our partnership and value everything that you all do. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move down now to Lisa's Executive Director's Report. At the conclusion of Lisa's report, then we'll take some questions.
Okay, thank you. So I did, I'm gonna put everybody's hand down. Jason and Maddie, I know you have your hands up. It's just a little distracting. Susan, I will get to you. I will forward your question and the others that are in the chat. So as I mentioned, we have asked, we've crafted some draft legislative language to change the authorizing legislation for LRCC so that it would be a one name versus three. And we're floating that to see how we can do it the most painless way and get that done. And we'll keep you posted on what the best way to move forward with that is. We are also moving forward with our advocacy work on the voting membership. As you noted, our plan had been to go to Albany next week. Unfortunately, that was derailed not by Amtrak, but by schedules. So we're going to, Yes, it's something that we're continuing to move forward on. We're getting new sign-ons on a daily basis. Jack and Kara are spearheading that. And we are also moving forward with our three main other pushes, which are senior disabled Medicare AM peak discounts on the commuter rails. The City Ticket Weekly, which we believe should be funded by outer borough transit account funds, and fair fares on commuter rails, which we believe the city should and has the ability to fund within New York City. There's a city council hearing next week that will be testifying again in support of that. And we've gotten some interesting feedback. The city continued, there has been a city perspective that there's been a big budget hole, but that changes on a somewhat regular basis. So we're waiting to find out what some of the finances are on the cost to the MTA, to the city, so that we can pursue that and move those forward. The One House bills should be coming out next week, and we will know more about what gets in, what the One House budgets. I'm sorry, thank you. That's what I meant to say. We'll find out more about what is incorporated into that and how we continue to pursue our advocacy there. We are we all PCAC, your PCAC staff all testified at the congestion pricing hearings. So thank you all. And thank you to our members who testified. We know that there were also some Zoom issues. So Zoom is not everybody's friend at all times. The comment period's open until March 11th. So PCAC Kara has created a web link that we'll share with all of you, where you can very easily send an email to the MTA in support of congestion pricing. We will send that to you. Yes. We are continuing our search for an associate director. We're looking to schedule some interviews in the coming weeks. And you know, the wheels of HR turn very slowly, but there is interest from some very good candidates that we're looking forward to. And what else? Good. So I believe that is my.
Okay, so
Thank you.
we have about 20 minutes left, so I guess we could take some questions. All right, go ahead, Chris.
Yes, first, Lisa, question regarding the Transportation Council hearing. Do you need members to also speak on this? I mean, to
So-
testify?
Thank you for asking. That is, the morning is taken up by all of the agencies. They have given the MTA a 2-hour time frame, which usually lasts 4. And then City DOT a 2-hour time frame, which usually lasts 4. And then they've given members of the public a 2-hour window, which at that point is usually one council member and a bunch of people handing in their papers. So I would say that you can submit written testimony if you like, but it's really on, I'd say that, thank you. But we will be sure to include the issues that we know are near and dear to everybody's hearts.
And just to let you know, I might pop in for support. Because I
Okay.
know how the public hearings do run. Because I agree what you're saying, Lisa. It was well said for one reason, because I used to do it. The time they called us, I feel like I'm there for almost 24 hours.
Yeah, pretty much. And no, they say no eating and drinking.
Or breathing.
Well. No. Sharon, you had a question?
Thank you. Does through running apply to us? I'm starting to hear so much discussion of through running and the pros and cons. And is that something that applies to us? And if so, could we schedule a session with a speaker or speakers or something to help us understand it better?
Well, there are things that have to be done to make it, there are things that have to be done to make it work. particularly at Penn Station. And Randy and Andrew and Jerry are probably have more expertise on that than I do. So I'm gonna defer.
Well, and through, I mean, with the commuter railroads. Well, yes,
Would go all the way through back and forth and not go and turn around and come back.
well, many years ago, not that far back, but there was service to the Meadowlands on the days that the Giants, the Jets played there from New Haven. And it was simple. I mean, it took a long time to get it set up, but what they would do is they'd have a New Jersey Transit train, an electric from Trenton, would come to Penn Station as scheduled. Then it would go out of service. It would run up to New Haven, and it would wait for its scheduled time. Then they would come back. And they did 3 of them. Then it got down to 2. Then it got down to 1. Then it got down to nothing. So and that train, once they got back to Penn Station, a new crew would get on it, and they would take the train back to Trenton, and it would go back in the regular cycle. It's just too many complicated things to do with when the ARC project was proposed, that's access to the region's core, which is now Gateway. It was supposed to also allow for through running of trains, but there's governmental obstructions and jurisdictional disputes and union things, so it takes a lot of time to get those settled. I think they should do it. They should work on it to get it done.
It's something that may happen in the future, but it's difficult, but not impossible. Amtrak actually is just considering, it's nothing etched in stone or anything. They were actually talking about running trains throughout to Ronkonkoma.
Yeah.
Making stops, I believe, at Mineola or in 1 or 2 other spots. So, but whether that happens or not, are their trains compatible with our trains? I mean, certain areas of trains run on catenary wires, certain trains, they run on third rail, so it's
third rails.
What's that?
And there's different third rails.
Different
The
third
Long
rails.
Island Railroad third rail is the
Yeah.
same as the subway third rail, where there's third rail and the shoes go over it. On Metro North, on the Hudson and Harlem lines, it's an underrunning third rail, and it runs
Shoes are on the
underneath.
bottom, yep.
And I just want to go back one thing I mentioned before. Many years ago, a friend of mine who was he was in charge of Amtrak's Empire service. That's the trains that run out of in New York State. He did run some trains from Albany to Shea Stadium
Yeah.
over the Long Island Railroad. So it could be done.
They also have to learn the different they have to be you have to be qualified. The crews have to be qualified on the different systems too. So after on signals and systems and everything. So that's the big conversation around the reconstruction of not the rebuild, but the larger reconstruction of Penn Station and the addition of more tracks, which gets into a larger conversation about the taking of property, and the redevelopment of a quote unquote blighted area that not everybody agrees is blighted. So that's a very deep conversation around that changed with Vornado's pulling out of wanting to do that. So we can certainly, there are lots of different opinions, they're like noses. And that there are a lot of different opinions and a lot of different reads on when it could happen and what needs to happen, but everybody agrees that the number one thing is money.
But who oversees it? I mean, Jamie was talking about, there's now this group and they do long range planning. Is there such a thing for through running or Penn Station or whatever?
Penn Station is owned by Amtrak.
Yeah.
Right, so Amtrak would need to be involved, New Jersey Transit would need to be involved, the
And-
Long Island Railroad would need, the MTA would need to be involved. So Amtrak has proved to be obstructionist in some ways, on some projects. So they would need to be motivated, involved, engaged, and then the MTA and New Jersey Transit would need to come to agreement on schedules, on tracks, and on so many different things about how to make things work.
If I may just give you another qualification, which we're wearing one of my other hats, but this is a quote, political quote unquote problem more than anything else, involving 2 different constituencies, different elected officials and different unions representing different employees from the different railroads and besides us that would be involved. So it gets much more complicated than just the finances or just Vernado pulling out because had been a lot of objection to Vernado ever pulling in. So, or being a part of this. And I don't want to go into all the details, but it really is, it's a mess. And whether it can ever happen with all of the different parties and different considerations involved, at least from my knowledge, again, wearing one of my other hats, is questionable at best. A lot of good things, Sharon, a lot of good things because of other considerations don't happen. And I'm just trying to be straightforward with you about the possibility
Right.
and not even
it's-
probability
Karen,
of
It's
this
something
ever
that's not gonna happen
happening.
anytime soon. It's possible, but not probable.
Not, yeah, exactly.
Neither did I.
Ma'am?
Karen?
Karen.
Uh,
I'm gonna say that.
Karen, can you use the
Karen,
mic?
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. I think it was like a year or so ago, someone came from some organization and they wanted to bring in service into Queens, like near Shea Stadium, Briarwood, et cetera. And they were talking about Amtrak. So I think if they find a business case and if there's enough ridership demand, who knows? I mean, it could happen. I
Well,
don't know what time frame.
Andy Byford's in charge of Amtrak, so, not in charge of Amtrak, but.
Right, yeah.
On the fast speed train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be realistic about what's going on. I'm not
I-
going to go into details.
I
but
hear
I'm
you. I'm just saying
That was a
that,
private route.
right, but they were talking about Amtrak in Queens.
Right.
Talking about using their tracks,
but it Right.
wasn't Amtrak.
Oh, it wasn't
Oh, no.
Amtrak.
No, it was,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
I sit corrected. So in terms of old business, and I didn't bring this up earlier, when we were talking about the stations, the trains coming into Jamaica and transfer times, I've just gotten to the point that I just try to find a train that goes straight through somewhere and then I'll figure out how to get, just because going to Jamaica, besides the time that you're waiting, you just don't know what track a train comes into. There's no longer any rhyme or reason into what track I'll come into. So in the past, if you were coming from like Long Island and Queens going into Manhattan, generally you'd be on tracks 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. It could be 6, it could be 7, and it's a mad dash to get over to. So whatever happens, I just would like there to be consistency and some consideration, not just for myself because I can run, but for those people that have to get to the front or the back, depending on what direction, and take the escalator up. And then keep in mind, there's no escalator going down. So either has to be the elevator. And that it has gotten to the point that I don't even want to transfer at Jamaica anymore. It's
There's
so
no
bad.
escalators on the west side either.
Yeah.
What would be perfect would be track 1 takes you to Grand Central, track 2 takes you to Penn, and track 3 takes you to Atlantic Terminal.
You
That
know,
would be
that's what they were
so
kind
easy.
of doing in the beginning when
Yes.
they brought in Grand Central. They would have the Grand Central train waiting there on track 2. But then I think with all the concern, it just went
That would
out.
allow easy transfers and everything.
Yeah,
That's what it was designed.
yeah.
Excuse me, guys, there's one thing I'll just add because the West Hempstead train does come in. You got to time that perfectly.
It does come in on track.
Yes.
Yes, but I said time it perfectly.
And yes.
If not, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And let's don't forget the people with accessibility because Denver, there's only one elevator and a platform. If then those elevators are poor authorities, if they're out, you better make sure you know Long Island Cares because thank God Long Island Cares are there. They have to put you downstairs on a freight elevator, which pray to God you guys better have cologne with you because it's smelly down there. And then from there, you go up to another sector, track to get upstairs. And all I can say is prayer. Because 11 and 12, if that elevator's out, you're extremely screwed.
Wait, could you explain that again?
Can I explain it to you later?
Okay.
Yeah,
I-
Cause if I do that again, everyone's gonna look at me strangely.
No, but you're saying there's a freight
Yes,
elevator?
Freight
Yes.
elevator.
Oh, elevator, okay.
yes, I did say freight elevator.
Okay, I thought you said freight train. I was like, what? Okay.
All right, we've
No.
got Sharon and then we got somebody on the video.
We have a similar situation at Southeast and Wassaic, where you never know which track and it changes all the time and they don't announce it. It would be nice to understand why there can't be consistency.
Because it's not their station. It's not, it's, I say you could Southeast. Those are great questions. Yeah.
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 Okay.
name is Maddie.
Oh, you got Maddie on there?
Yeah.
All right, Maddie, you have a question?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, time is running, so I've been patient. But first, I just want to ask Elise, did you get my question in? Because, that was for the president.
So, yes, I'm responding to you on the chat right now.
All right, can you X that to Jamie Torspring for me, please? I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Your question is about expanding the Staten Island Railway from Tottenville to Perth Amboy. And my response is about a higher priority, probably be completing the Bergen Loop for a one-seat ride. Yeah.
Because I was gonna X at the what the opinion was, but I'll save it for the meeting up ahead in March. Because I just want to get about the Staten Island Railway expanding from Tottenville to Perth Amboy.
Yeah. That's okay. Mr. X, you have a question?
Oh, I wasn't done, but thanks.
Well, I wanted to mention this earlier today, but we had to accommodate Jamie. Okay, regarding Bedford Park Station, which is actually Botanical Garden Station, there were benches on that bridge and they were removed. Okay, if it's cold outside, you can sit up there and stay warm. Okay, you can't do that anymore. You could, walk across that bridge. You can stand, but you can't sit. I don't know why the benches were removed, and plus there were no back portions. So if your back was sore, you just had to lean back, which I also didn't appreciate. And as I said before, regarding congestion press, I mentioned this last Thursday, the same day Ja Rule turned 48. Regarding these drivers that park their vehicles in bus lanes, I said, don't give them a ticket or summons. Instead, give them a wedgie or a hypodermic needle.
Well.
You do that, I guarantee you, they'll straighten up real well. It's that simple. Because I've told drivers to get the hell out of the way. When they see a bus come, I tell them there's a bus coming and just sit there as if I'm speaking a foreign language.
But they're gonna get a ticket with the ACE system coming. We're gonna move to Jason for our last question and then we wrap.
Pretty much, yeah.
Hey everyone, regarding Amtrak exploring expanding service to Long Island, there's a discussion regarding that. They announced this last year, and my thing is they will use diesel equipment. It will be 3 daily trips from Penn Station to Ronkonkoma. And it will be they will be using LIRR tracks. It will be estimated economic impact of $44 million. So this is huge. And as you guys know, Andy Byford is an Amtrak, but he is the head of high-speed rail division in Amtrak. And one note regarding the governor's announcement yesterday, it already made national headlines since early this morning. And she will be at the State of the Union later on tonight.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions before we?
I do. Um,
Also, I'm sorry.
I
Oh.
do. I had
All right,
that.
No, sorry, Jesse, Karen is gonna
We'll do
go. 'cause
Karen
she's
and then
our
we'll do
member.
you,
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. It just reminds me, there was supposed to be that track from Boston to, or from Massachusetts to Long Island. Is that still happening?
They'll build that when they build the gondola to Staten Island.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the high-speed railway that was going to go all the way?
The tunnel, yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah,
tunnel.
I was just
because-
curious if that
Not,
was,
not in our lifetime.
okay.
And high-speed rail, the idea of having Boston all the way down to DC is totally out of it
Yeah.
now. There's only one high-speed rail that's going on, and it's all the way in California.
Jesse.
All right, Jesse, you're up.
Yeah, that picture of the vandalized station, I emailed it to Lisa. I was gonna put it in the Zoom chat. I was like, nah, not everybody would like it.
Nope, got it. Thank you. And we also had, from our, participant, C. Esposito, about fare collection problems on the Long Island Railroad, that they're charged for 3 of 10 trips into the city. And that he and his daughter, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's he, they and their daughter, ride the LRR regularly and estimate that about 30% of fares go uncollected for various reasons, largely due to antiquated fare collection methods.
Omni can't come to the railroads quick enough.
Yep, Omni can't come to the railroads fast enough. Agree.
All right, there being no other questions, we'll just quickly, does anyone have any old business to bring up?
It's 2.
Okay, there being no old business. Yes, Mr. X.
2 o'clock. No, it's actually 2. Oh, no.
I mentioned this before.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, to Fantastic Four, Columbus Circle Station. You need an elevator connecting the Uptown 1 train to the Downtown A train. Elevator and a ramp. It would be gladly appreciated.
All righty, so noted.
And then a few.
Any other old business? Seeing none, we'll move down to new business. Anybody have any new business?
I just want to alert to everybody that the president's State of the Nation, State of the
State
Union.
of the Union.
I know, is on tonight at 9 o'clock, and there may be some issues, because there will be, well, I just suggest that everybody tune into it if you can. It's going to be on every station, on everything, but just want to let you know that it's really important for all of us.
Okay, there being no other new business.
Second.
Yeah. What, all right, Chris?
Yeah, I like to add something in for new business that make everyone happy, and then we can adjourn. As I mentioned at TRC, thanks to Andrew and Lisa, on the ACTA committee meeting, there are some new executive members, so I do want to share this to the railroad as well. And Randy, it is important to you because I did promise you to let you know this. There is a new chairperson. Jessica Murphy is no longer the chair. It is now John Baduto, which his name is there because he does use John or other names. Michael Ring is the vice chair. Leon is the secretary, and I am the new community outreach officer on ACTA. So I just wanted to know that. So that means Randy and Jerry, I'm still with you.
Okay.
So outreaching will still be on those railroads too, to keep on how we can work together. So I just want to say that because that's breaking good news to make you feel good.
Thank you.
You'll be doing outreach?
Yes.
Better wear gloves.
Okay,
Okay, last question, Mr. X, it's 1:58, so.
Okay, Fantastic Four, this is going to Marble Hill Station. I'm hoping the powers that be can make it wheelchair accessible. So in the past, I've seen people run down to the platform like fugitives. And if they slip, then they're doing the twists like Chubby Checker, also performing their stunts, like which is what Lee Majors did in The Fall Guy. So if we can either put an elevator or a ramp, turn those stairways to a ramp, it would be gladly appreciated.
Not only would I like to see that, but I would like to see, as I proposed for the East New York Long Island Railroad Station, a combination with the number one train's 225th Street station to make it a station complex with Marble Hill. That would be great.
Even better.
They left it
That's a
where it was
great
years
note-
ago.
Great note to end on.
All righty, and it's now 2 o'clock, so do I have a motion?
Second,
All right.
All
All in
right,
favor?
great.
Aye.
Thank you.
aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Thank you all.
See you next month.